can't
around.
get around
because
no.
it's like 6 crossings.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It is.
And every now and then somebody get hit because they don't see the other 5.
I lost my toe on the track.
So you born there at on that's State Street, isn't it? Not Henry Horner.
Robert Taylor.
Robert Taylor.
I was actually born in Dibble Homes, of course,
Okay.
back in the 60s, and it was real nice. It was 2 family houses
Sure.
and stuff. And then my mother got married. Me
Yeah.
and my 2 sisters moved to 78th and Carpenter around the time King got killed. And
Sure.
bought a house on 87th and Ada, which was like the Brady Bunch neighborhood
Wow.
in the late 60s, early 70s. And when things fell apart, we moved to Robert Taylor. So it was like kind of like culture shock.
Wow.
Going from Brady
That
Bunch
is an
to
extreme
oh man, it was crazy. I remember that first day, man, just like it was yesterday. Walking across that porch, man, carrying stuff, and people staring at me and not understanding why we had to move, and it was really traumatic.
I can imagine.
Now,
I can imagine.
who raised you?
My mother raised me. She got married for a short period of time, and I had 4 little brothers, a set of twins in there, and they were like all stair-step.
Okay.
But for the most part, I was raised by my mother.
How many siblings?
A total of 7 of us.
Wow. By your mom.
By my mom.
And I hope this does not get too personal. But your mom, now all of them same father or different fathers?
No, different fathers. My mother finally, I think, got saved or got serious about her walk or whatever. However, by the time she got married, she had already had 3 different 3 kids.
Sure.
And so we had different dads. And so then when she got married, she had 4 more. And that was pretty much it. So that made up to 7.
So which one? Now these men were still in your brothers and sisters' lives.
Well, here's the thing. My mother had my first 2 sisters, my 2 older sisters. They had different dads, and then I had a dad. And they would see their dad from time to time.
Okay.
And, of course, my younger brothers would see their father, but I never saw my father.
Ever?
It was probably around 8 or 9 years ago, if it's been that long, that I finally met my father.
Wow.
And
How was that experience?
it was crazy. It was something that, every guy will tell you, you'll try to play it off like you really don't want to, but it was something secretly always everybody wants to know where that came from. And I knew it was a desire of my mother. You get older and you're a parent, you always have regrets and wish that you would do things differently. And I think that was something my mother kind of carried with for a long time. And so it was crazy. My brother tells a story that I have a half auntie, my father's sister, and they were at the father's funeral, which would have been my grandfather. And I guess by his being a different religion, at the funeral, he and his family got up and left the auntie sit there. And so I think, later on, maybe it was a little get back, and I may be telling the story wrong, but he was telling the story about getting locked up for child support or something. And she said, no, you got the story wrong. That's your son in Chicago. Oops.
Oh, wow.
And my brother heard the story, heard it, and started asking my aunt about it, and then asking my father. And eventually he tracked down, went back to grandma's house in Hattiesburg, and aunt lived around the corner and ended up giving me a call, and we've been brothers and friends.
Wow.
Ever since. And so eventually we met on the phone, and I called. He moved back to the area from Alabama, and then we met face to face.
You and your father?
Me and my father.
But how was that experience meeting him face to face? Did you feel a void, an emptiness, or was it like, wow, thank you, God, I finally, we can finally start catching up? Because I've heard stories from men who meet their fathers years later, and a plethora of emotions come over them.
I think for me, though, because it had been so long, and by me having given my life to Christ at some point, and really having dealt with a lot of issues concerning that, man, really, I think I dealt with some of it, so it wasn't shock. It wasn't awe. It wasn't a void. But I think it probably was a little bit. But at the time, it was just something that I felt like needed to happen. And, I was a little nervous, and, maybe I'm sure he was too. But
how long did that meeting last?
We met at we talked on the phone first a couple of times, and then we met when he moved up here, maybe a year or two later, at a Chinese buffet. And we talked literally for hours, like we had on the phone. And
Right.
real nice gentleman, you know, nice, you know, suits and stuff. And but you know, we had some very big differences. You know, one of them was he was a Jehovah's Witness, I was a Christian. He taught in the Jehovah's Witness and stuff like that. And so I actually reached out to a older gentleman before I met him for some advice, and I would recommend anybody do that.
Do what?
Reach out to another guy or another man or somebody more mature than you.
You need it.
Okay.
I think that's an important point when we, as it relates to the subject that we're talking about.
see.
And asked him, you know, he made a good point. He said, "Hey, establish the relationship first,
Good.
and then, you know, before you start, y'all starting trying to get into,
Yeah.
you know, what y'all
So
believe
what happened?
and stuff
Yeah,
like that."
that's good. That's good. Alvin,
Yes, sir.
you had something to say to that about the getting the help. What do you suggest?
The help is necessary because men need direction from a man's perspective.
Absolutely.
From the mind of a man. We think differently. We're wired differently. We approach things differently. We are more instinctive, and sometimes instincts only kick in a circumstance.
Yeah.
And a man will teach a boy how to use those instincts by putting that boy in certain situations to develop those instincts.
That's good.
Absolutely.
Almost like animalistic. You'll see animals play and it looks like they're fighting, but they're really playing and developing certain survival skills.
Yeah.
And today's man has trouble surviving because they have not been put in those situations. When that daddy said, "Boy, go do that." "Why you gotta say it like that, baby?" "I know what I'm doing. Leave him alone." "Boy, come here."
Right.
You know, the rough talk, the sometimes the rough housing even, or the punch in the chest. Those things are designed to help develop his manhood. As we say, I'm trying to toughen him up. I'm trying to make him drop. You know, those are developmental things that only a man can do because women don't understand that.
And you know what?
Go ahead.
The balance too, because
Yes.
a brother. I did a session. I work for a company called UCAN, and I'm actually out in the gardens.
Do you know Kerry Copes?
It sounds familiar.
He worked with UCAN.
Yeah.
You
And-
can't. How do you spell it?
UCAN is ULIC Children Advantage Network.
Okay.
And I run programs. I run a program called Men Strong, Surviving Trials, Removing Obstacles, and Noticing Gifts.
Oh, you the right one for the day.
And right now, I got all the 7th graders in Larry Hawkins School out there. And the guys, the exercise was simple. Was all the guys getting a bunch, about 23 guys, and you got to grab one guy's hand, but you can't grab the same guy's hand. And basically the exercise was they get all entangled, and then they got to work together as a group to get out and form a circle.
And without letting go?
We could not do the exercise because they were hung up on, I cannot hold another guy's hand. That's gay. And so one of the things that, and especially not to pick on single females, because, you know, our households are 67 or 72% headed by single females. A lot of guys are raised by single female, and they don't have that guy, you know, or that man at home to kind of teach them the other side of it, which is, you know, hey, it's okay, man, to hug. There's a difference between me hugging you one way and me hugging you another way, or me holding your hand in a simple game, and then doing it another way. And so,
Some boys don't even know how to hug a woman the way a man would hug a woman.
right? And so you got guys that are now that, and which is one of the reasons why guys can't connect, because they learn it so young. They'll get on the phone and they have an issue, and then what they'll do, they'll talk to a female about it, because what, she's gonna be nurturing like mom was. A guy's not gonna get on the phone with you. You know, he could be understanding, man. Look, I've been through that, bro.
I hear you, dog. I'm with you, man.
I got you, man. But we ain't gonna stay there.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying?
Because we don't want to deal with it either.
Right. We're like, look, man, this is what you need to do, man. You got about 30 seconds to cry, and then, you know, you gotta start working on some
Where'd
stuff.
that come from? Did that come from our instinct of the testosterone instinct, or did that come from our upbringing from a woman?
I think it comes from the upbringing of, you know, a woman is going to do what a woman does.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with, if you've been raised by a single female. Obviously, I was.
Yeah.
But, you know, one of the issues that I had was I didn't have any positive men
Sure.
in my life until I got into high school. And it was William Johnson was a band director. at Simeon.
Sure, absolutely.
And so he took a more personal approach. So you always had a teacher, but you got to have some guys, man. If you're a single parent,
right,
that'll some saved, grounded guy. Because nowadays you can't have your kids around just anybody, guy. Cause especially if they're in church.
Sure.
But you gotta have them around some guys, man. So they can get a different perspective.
What saved you, not spiritually saved you, but what saved you, because you always seem to have always got it together, okay? And my friends, I'm very careful how I select my friends. But I think it's the misunderstanding of what we think a single woman raising a boy is. We always think that there's going to be a problem with this man. There are some things missing in him, yes. But we tend to believe that a woman can't effectively raise a man, and I've seen some very successful men raised by just women.
I was raised by just women.
Okay.
But there still came a point in time.
Yes. So, and that's my question to you as well, both of you. If you can do this right quick, what saved you? What caused you to have it together, or maybe you don't have it. You didn't have it together for a while, but you played the role that you had it together. Does this make any sense?
It makes perfect sense.
Makes perfect sense.
Okay.
Well, firstly, I don't have it together.
Okay.
I mean, I'm a work in progress, and I think the attitude is you got to just know who you are, and you got to understand, man, that you don't have it all together. You're not perfect. And I'm saying it because I know there's a lot of fathers out there that are not in the lives of their children.
Right.
They're scared to make that contact because it's been 5 or 10 years.
Right.
You don't have to be a perfect parent. You don't have to be a perfect father, but you need to make that contact. One of the things that saved me was my single mother was an example. Whatever mistakes she made, and when she started raising us in the projects, I didn't have Uncle so-and-so coming over, spending the night, and all these uncles and stuff. Well, where you going to stay? Where you going to stay in the room with me? I didn't have that. My mother lived a life, and she lived an example, and she made us the priority.
She protected you?
She protected us, and she made us the priority. I never seen my mother date. And I'm not saying anything's wrong with dating, but it was obvious that she made that a commitment.
I see.
And the other thing was I found something that I really enjoyed doing, which was music.
You think that saved you?
Man, it saved me big time because I went to school. I couldn't get in any school in Chicago. I had really high reading scores, and I couldn't figure it out.
Wow.
But that was probably because I was acted up so much at grammar school. Back in the day, they wrote in your transcripts, this boy a fool, he's been suspended 300 times and stuff like that. So schools will look at me like, I don't care if you are reading college, we don't want you in the school. So God actually had it where I ended up at Simeon, and Mr. Johnson was a guy that I needed to intersect with because he kind of saved me too. And so I got into music. I found my purpose. I found what I enjoyed doing, man, and I immersed myself in it. And the rest was just being in a good church and growing. And later on, as I got older, man, I got married real early. I realized at some point I didn't know what I was doing, and I wanted to go to a church where I could be around older guys.
Okay.
Because I felt like this was my mindset. I did not want to be like my dad, father, invisible. And I knew I only had one chance to do this.
Oh,
wow. He says the contents of my heart. I can echo almost everything verbatim. I may have been a little older when I found my surrogate father. I was already a man, but it was written. It was by divine purpose. How I even met him. But he was a perfect example of fatherhood, manhood. I could talk to him about anything, and he was nurturing enough. I watched him show sensitive side, but yet he was a man's man. Very masculine, but yet gentle. Very rough, but yet had a softness to him. He was a godly man, so all of that helped as well. And he also helped me find purpose, and he pushed me toward purpose. I wouldn't be preaching if it wasn't for him. I wouldn't know how to pray or function if it wasn't for him.
For who this was?
His name was Elder Tom Bynum.
Oh, really?
Papa Bynum.
Wow. That's him.
I cried hard at his funeral than it
Yeah.
I mean, I still miss him.
Oh yeah, he and his
yes.
Now, y'all, Tom Bynum is Professor Dr. Juanita Bynum's
Biological father.
Biological father.
But he my daddy.
Yeah. A great man of God. And and Kathy, the
Catherine.
wife. That was Aunt Kathy to me. Yeah.
Yep, ain't Cat.
You and I were in their home quite a few. You had the keys to the house.
I still got it.
Yeah.
I don't know if they work. But.
Right. Oh, yeah. Bless the family. Listen, we got to take a break. I'm going to pay a bill, and I've got another clip, an audio clip I